Hi, welcome back to the channel. So, in the last 2 weeks, I've been traveling, and it's been a kind of a whirlwind trip because I had to go for work. I had to go to Northern Virginia, right near the riots. Perfect. And then I had to go up to Michigan to see family, and I drove the Dodge. So, I'm going to give you a little bit of a good and a bad kind of a rundown with the Dodge. So, the good things about the Dodge are, well, let me go back. So, you are aware of all the things I've done to the truck. I did the steering, I did the injectors, I did the sensors on the injection pump, new radiator, new water pump, basically a new cooling system. I still have to do the brakes. The brakes are over here, right down there in those boxes, those white boxes. Got to do the brakes still. I took it up to an oil change place because I didn't feel like doing it. So what I did is I had him service the transfer case. The front diff was good and the fluid was actually really clean. Then I had him service a rear diff before I left. Um, I've done the exhaust and multiple oil changes and the transmission. So the good thing is it didn't use any oil, um, which was a relief because just putting around town here in Huntsville, I may or may not actually use any oil, but on long trips where you sustain speeds of like 70, 75 miles an hour, you can end up starting to use a little bit of oil. It'll use a little bit of transmission fluid. You'll start spitting a little bit of coolant out if the truck starts to warm up, depending on you going up and down big, long grades and stuff. I didn't lose any coolant. I didn't lose any transmission fluid. I didn't lose any oil. It's got a rear main seal leak, but it's not so bad that it marks its territory everywhere it goes. It just drips every once in a while. The diffs don't leak. The transfer case didn't leak. I don't have any leaks. Power steering doesn't leak. Um, so that was great. I was able to do 70 miles an hour from Huntsville, Alabama to Fairfax, Virginia, and from Fairfax, Virginia, all the way up through Pennsylvania, Ohio, and into Michigan, across Maryland there. I had to drive through DC. Um, but it didn't, as far as driving down the road, if I kept it at 69 or 70 miles an hour, maybe 71, I got about 18 and a half miles to the gallon, 18.5 on the computer. I didn't hand calculate it because I didn't really care, but if I did 75, I got 17.5 on the computer. So maybe it's accurate, maybe it's not. I don't know. Maybe it's off by 3 miles per gallon. I don't know. I didn't bother. But I did. I'm going to go look at the mileage because I did a trip counter for the whole trip because it was going to be one big round trip. So I went through Alabama to Tennessee, all the way into Virginia. I don't think I went anywhere near North Carolina. Got into Virginia, stayed there for a few days. I was there like Tuesday through Friday, and then Friday in the afternoon. So I did 2,815.5 miles. And from Tuesday last week to Thursday, I pulled into my driveway, or I pulled up to my house here. Um, yeah. So to say that I had an uneventful trip, I did have an uneventful trip, other than experiencing extreme cold weather while ice fishing in Michigan. I threw some pictures up on my Instagram, so you can see that. Anyway, so some of the bad that happened. I lost one of my ABS sensors, and I think it's the driver's side. And I think because I lost it right after I went over a series of horrific bumps in Michigan on the freeway, south of Grand Rapids, going into Holland, or just after Holland, I don't remember. But I think it's the same one. I got to check it out. I haven't had a chance to look. I got home, I got the truck unpacked, I got everything inside. I didn't bother looking at the truck. In the next couple of days, I'm going to look at that. And then I lost first gear in the transmission again because of those solenoids. And I'm not sure which one it is. I got a P20283 code. That happened in Pennsylvania, flying down the highway, going downhill, not in first gear, clearly, at 70 miles an hour. and I got a check engine light. And then after that, I didn't have first gear. And then every once in a while, I would be pulling out of a parking lot or something, and I would actually be in first gear, and it would shift normally. So I've got to address that. So I'm going to have to drop the pan. Again, I plan on dropping the pan anyway. Since I've done the transmission, I have now put 4,000 miles on it. I will say that I think I have a good transmission. I don't, unless I pull that fluid and it's full of gold flakes and a bunch of brown tar from clutch material, I think I've got a decent transmission, because sustained speeds on the highway isn't all that rough on the transmission, but it just going down the highway at 70 miles an hour for 12 hours at a time, that can be kind of rough, especially on an older transmission, one with 200,000 miles. Other than losing that solenoid, or the governor pressure solenoid, I don't know which one went. I still have second, third, and overdrive, and it holds overdrive. It holds lockup going up and down hills. If you ever drove through Tennessee east to west or west to east, you'll know that there's some significant hills in that state, as well as Virginia, as well as Pennsylvania, some in Ohio, in eastern Ohio. And then you get into Michigan, there's some pretty good hills. Not mountains like Tennessee, but you're going up and down some serious elevation, and it held lockup, and it didn't overheat the transmission. Going up and down, I saw temperatures right around 160 on the freeway. It would warm up. It would heat up if I were going slower through a town. I noticed that the truck was, I don't know, it was hovering right around 200 degrees in town. And as soon as I got on the highway, it started coming back down. It would come down slowly because those coolers aren't that big. And I'm going to upgrade the coolers in that. I know I talked about that in another video. But, and as far as needing to really do any maintenance or having to pull over on the side of the road and get stuck anywhere, not once. Not once did this thing stop. Not once did it leave me on the side of the road. I didn't have to call a tow truck. I didn't have to do none of that. This thing ran pretty much like a champ. Other than the ABS sensor and the transmission throwing a code, I didn't really have any issues. The heat worked just fine when it was 16 degrees out. It was freezing cold up there the other day. But you can see I'm going to turn the camera around here. Everybody loves these videos. You can see the amount of abuse this paint job took. I mean, it is just disgusting. And you can't run this truck through the car wash because it's got those wide ass hips. So you got to hand wash it. So that'll be fun. But yeah, one good thing, I didn't know whether it was going to run right or not, is the 4-wheel drive. I had it serviced, and that was all well and good. And I didn't know if the 4-wheel drive actually worked or not, because I've never used it. I never actually did anything with it. And lo and behold, it worked just fine, because I was in 4-wheel drive every day that I was in Michigan. I went to visit my uncle, and my uncle lives on a dirt road. It's called Meth Alley. He lives on Meth Alley in Osceola County, Michigan, where I'm from originally. And so you can see the condition of the truck. It got beat up pretty good in the salty snow, and it snowed. It snowed every day that I was there. I got to Toledo on Friday night, and I went north, Thursday night, and I went north on Friday morning, and I woke up, it was pouring rain on Friday in Toledo, Ohio, and before I even got to Ann Arbor, Michigan, it was already turning into snow and slush, and it just didn't stop after that. I left yesterday morning, and it snowed every day. I had snow in my truck every day that I was there. But back to Meth Alley. So 5 Mile Road in a town called Everett, Michigan. You could probably Google it. 5 Mile Road off of US 10. It's a dirt road that is poorly maintained at best, but they call it Meth Alley. And probably the Grand Traverse Narcotics Task Force loves going through Meth Alley and cleaning people out. There's either exploded or burned out trailers along that particular road. Active meth labs, which is pretty interesting. And there's a pot dispensary and a pot grow operation that is legal in Michigan now, owned by a man named Bob Bell, who owns Bell Tire in Michigan. It's called Loom. Not that I'm plugging that. I'm just saying that's also on 5 Mile Road. So there's many options on 5 Mile. So you can go get some legal pot and some illegal meth. So that's fantastic. But anyway, my uncle lives on that road, and he lives in a subdivision off of that road as well, and lives on the Muskegon River. And I would go to his house every day, and we'd get into shenanigans like fishing and I don't know what else, man. We hung out at his place, hung out on the river. It was beautiful. Helped him. He had to clean out his chimney, so I helped him clean his chimney and whatnot. And just went up there and visited and had a relaxing time. But anyway, the 4x4 works on terrible, maintained, icy, snowy, slushy dirt roads. Like I said, I didn't know if that was going to work or not, but it does perfectly fine. I put the drive shaft back in the night before I left, got the transfer case serviced, and it works fine. No issues, no leaks, no issues. Didn't get stuck. It was just great, man. It's a good trip. It was cold. I was cold every day. I'm not used to the cold. Living down here in Huntsville, I think today it's like, right now it's like 45 degrees. It's going to be in the 50s today. There's no snow. I mean, you can clearly see there's no snow here. Crown Vic's been sitting here lonely. I got to drive that today, get it started up and drive it. But yeah, the truck ran good. I'm going to figure out the transmission. I'll figure out what's going on there. If I got to warranty out that governor pressure solenoid, I will. That's the upgraded one I got from Thoroughbred. If that's what's throwing the code, I'll call them and warranty it out because it's only been in there for like, what is this? I think it's only been in there for like 2 months. And then that ABS sensor. What I think happened with the ABS sensor, I hit a bunch of bumps. I mean, like moving the entire truck around so many bumps, it was just terrible. And you can't see them coming. Some of the highways in Michigan are pretty rough. And as soon as that happened, I think it shook loose and skipped over in, because there's just a bunch of little clips that clip it to the brake line and then up to the electrical connection. I think it came off that brake line and it touched the rotor, and the rotor just burnt through it. I don't know. I'm going to have to get under there. But I have the ABS light back, and I have that check engine light for the transmission. And I tried to clear it, and I couldn't clear the code, so it's a hard failed solenoid. But other than that, the truck ran great. The tires were good. I bought the Milestar Patagonia tires for it because I didn't want to spend a shitload of money on tires if the transmission was complete trash after rebuilding the valve body and putting all the new electronics in it, and then I'd have to spend $3,000 to $4,000 getting a new transmission. But the Milestar Patagonias were good on the highway. They're not loud. I got good traction in the snow, good traction in the wet. It rained quite a bit on me. I don't have any issues with that at all. So traction, wheel balance, all that stuff's pretty good. But, well, thanks for tuning in. I don't have any video from Michigan. I didn't take any video because that's not really the theme of my channel. And I didn't catch anything ice fishing. I was ice fishing all day in like 20-degree weather, and it sucked because we were out there in the wind, and we didn't catch anything. If I was out there catching fish one after another, 20-degree weather with wind chill would have been worth it. Totally not worth it. It was freezing cold. We were up by the Martini chain of lakes near Barreton, Michigan, is the area we were fishing, and it was freezing cold, man. Freezing cold. But anyway, well, thanks for watching. Throw a like and subscribe if you will. Throw some comments down in the comments, and we can have a conversation about it. But for over 25 or whatever, 2,700 or whatever miles I said it was, I can't complain. I wish it didn't have the governor pressure solenoid failover, and ABS sensor is easy enough to change when I do the brakes anyway. But overall, considering the amount of work that I put into that truck, the fact that when I put it in my driveway, it didn't run. It wasn't going to run unless you did significant work to it. I did the work. I put the effort in, and now I have a truck that clearly is going to be good to go. The only last test I have to do on it is I got to tow my RV with it to make sure it's not going to blow apart. But I'm going to upgrade the coolers in the transmission before I do that, because you can get some pretty significant temps towing with a 48 RE transmission. So, and the cooler that they have in the front in the radiator is inadequate at best for that. So I'm going to put a fan underneath the bed, the auxiliary fan, and then that should take care of any overheating issues that I would have towing with it. So, thanks for watching. Have a great day.